You're watching part of our series on building garage storage racks. The racks are perfect for beginners, cheap to build, and are an excellent storage solution. In this episode, we'll build the 4 wide by 5 tall storage rack. The video is going to be split into 2 parts. First, the Home Depot version tailored for their 27-gallon HDX black and yellow totes. The second part is going to be a modified design to fit the 27-gallon black and yellow totes from Costco, Lowe's, and Sam's Club. After nearly a year of full-time work, I am excited to introduce SnapSort AI. It's a system designed to help you manage the items in your totes. It's an organization app where AI does all the boring parts for you. Slap a sticker on your tote, scan it once. Now it's in the app, ready for your items. Snap a photo of your item. AI reviews the shot and writes out the description terms automatically. No typing necessary, making searching for your items later easy. Months later, search for boxing gloves. The app points you right to the tote. No more digging. You are in control of borrowing, moving, or deleting items. Invite your family to your workspace and organize together. Free to try on iOS and Android. Link below. In this tutorial, we're going to be focusing on the tote rack that is 4 wide and 5 tall. This rack is designed specifically for the 27-gallon totes from Home Depot. The overall dimensions of the rack are 88 3/4 inches wide, 83 11/16 inches tall, and the rack is 28 1/4 inches deep. So we're going to need a total of 21 2x4s that are 10 feet long for this project. The first cuts you're going to make would be for the identical shelf supports. You're going to need a total of 40 of these. They're going to be at 28 1/4 inches long each. And I cut these shelf supports at a 45-degree angle for 2 reasons. One, easier sliding. The angle guides the tote into the rack. And 2 is for tote protection. It prevents the tote flaps from catching on the sharp 90-degree edges. So the way that I cut this is you can cut it at about 3/4 from the edge here, just at 45 degrees. So cut away that blue part. And then do the same thing on the other side as well. Next, you're going to create these ladder structures. So the white pieces here are the tote shelf supports. And you have new lumber pieces here. These are 80 11/16 inches long, represented in the green here. And what you're going to do is lay out your shelf supports. The first one is going to be 11 inches from the edge here. The next one is 12.5 inches, 12.5 inches, 12.5 inches, 12.5. And then the last one here should be 2 3/16 inches from the edge. Once you have those laid out, then go ahead and attach the components together. You need to use 2.5-inch long screws. I definitely recommend pre-drilling and countersinking these to prevent the wood from splitting and also to prevent screws from sticking out and catching on something. Use wood glue to increase strength. And you're going to need to build a total of 5 of these identical ladder structures. Now, for some of these, you're going to add a slight modification. So the modification is you have the back shelf supports. You're also going to add shelf supports on top here as well. And they're going to be spaced out just like before. So you have 11 inches from the edge, 12.5 inches from the from that one, 12.5 inches, 12.5 inches, and so on. And the last one's going to be 2 3/16 inches from the edge. And go ahead and add the 2.5-inch long screws here and wood glue. Again, pre-drill and countersink to prevent the wood from splitting. So in all, you should have a total of 3 pieces that are identical. This is the double-sided ladder. And then you're going to have 2 that are going to be just the single-sided ladder. So now you're going to kind of put together all of the components. So we're going to introduce a new lumber piece here. It is a 2x4 that is 88 3/4 inches long. It's represented in the blue here. And this one is just like this one. And you're going to take one of the ladders that is just one-sided with the ladder facing inward. You're going to attach using 3.5-inch screws, wood glue, and pre-drilling and countersinking these. So you're going to attach that to one side and then attach the other side as well, just like you did with this one. Again, make sure that the ladder is facing inward. Next, you're going to be adding the ladders that are double-sided to the inside of the rack. So in this case, the ladder that's double-sided is 20 5/16 inches away from the edge of this green component. So the two green components are 20 5/16 inches apart. Use 3.5-inch screws, wood glue, pre-drill, and countersink those as well. Next, you're going to add the other ladder component here in the exact same way. So 20 5/16 inches apart as well. And then the last one is also 20 5/16 inches from the edge here. So they should all be identical and all added in a similar way. Next, you're going to need to add 2 more of those blue components. So that's the lumber that's 88 3/4 inches long. So in this case, pre-drill holes, countersink them. You're going to be adding 3.5-inch long screws and wood glue to make sure it's nice and rigid. Now, to prevent the rack from swaying side to side, I highly recommend that you also add metal brackets to reinforce this. And I'm going to link the ones that I purchased for my rack in the link below. So where did these go? These are going to go on the edges, on the corners of the rack, from the front and also from the back, preventing the rack from swaying side to side. So you're going to attach these with just 3 screws, depending on how many holes are pre-drilled there. The ones that I purchased had more than 3 holes, but I just added 3 screws. So once you've got the rack all built out, now what you need to do is you need to make sure that the rack is secured to the studs of the garage. So in this situation, we have the rack. I am adding 2x4 L angle storage ties. So these are going to be added directly to the studs here. So if we took away the drywall, we'll see that these are about 16 inches apart, and these need to be added directly to the studs to make sure that you're actually securing the rack to the garage frame. So here you're going to need to use 1-inch screws, and then for the back here, securing it to these studs, 3.5 or 4-inch screws work just fine. Okay, now for this part of the video, we're going to work on the 4 wide and 5 tall version of the rack that is good for the 27-gallon totes for Costco, Lowe's, and Sam's Club. The rack itself is 91.5 inches wide. It is 30.25 inches deep and 80 7/8 inches tall. So start by taking 28 2x4s. These are going to be 8 feet long. And the first cut we're going to make is to create these 40 identical shelf supports. So we're going to cut down the 2x4s to 30.25 inches long. And then if you notice here, these shelf supports are cut off at the edges here as well for 2 reasons. One is easier sliding. The angle guides the tote into the rack. And then 2, for tote protection. It prevents the tote flaps from catching on these sharp 90-degree angles. So the way we're going to create that cut is we'll take the 2x4, and then at about 3/4, we're just going to cut the blue part here off at 45 degrees. And just do the same thing on the other side as well. Okay, so the next part is creating these ladder structures. So we have our shelf supports here, a total of 5 of them. And then we're introducing a new 2x4 here. This is a 77 7/8 inch long 2x4 represented in green. And then we're going to space out the shelf supports like you see here. So the first one is going to be 10 7/16 inches away from the edge. The next one is 11 and 15/16 inches away from the other one. And then same here, same here, same here. And then at the end, you should have 2 and 3/16 inches left over. So you're going to make a total of 5 of these. So you're going to secure the shelf supports to the green components using 2.5-inch screws. You definitely want to pre-drill the wood and countersink the screws to prevent the wood from splitting. And I also recommend using wood glue as well to make it stronger. So go ahead and add those screws. Again, make a total of 5 of these guys. And on 3 of those, you're going to modify them slightly. So you're going to add one more layer of shelf supports, and they're going to be mirrored from the other shelf supports. So they're going to align exactly with the ones underneath. So if you look here, we have 10 and 7/16 inches from the edge, 11 and 15/16 from the other one here, same here, same here, and same here. And then the end again is 2 and 3/16 inches left over there. So again, just like before, secure with 2.5-inch screws, pre-drill, use wood glue, countersink it. And now you're going to have a total of 3 that are going to be double-sided and 2 of the ladders that are going to be just single-sided. So now we're going to put all of these components together. So we're introducing a new 2x4 here. It's a 91.5-inch long 2x4 represented here in blue. And we're going to add the ladder here that's going to be just one-sided. So it's facing inward, and we're going to secure that together with 3.5-inch screws, wood glue. Again, here you definitely want to pre-drill and make sure that the screws are not sticking out. So do the same thing on the other side. So 3.5-inch screws here, and the ladder again is now facing inside. And next, you're just going to go ahead and add the double-sided ladders. So these are going to be 21 inches away from the initial ladder you put in here. So the face of this green piece and the face of that green piece are going to be 21 inches apart. So here you're going to use 3.5-inch screws again, pre-drill, use wood glue, secure those in place. And then go ahead and add your next one. Again, 21 inches, do the same thing. And go ahead and add your last one as well. So 21 inches on all sides here. All right, so now in this step, you're just gonna add 2 more 91.5-inch long 2x4. So these are the same ones that you have on the bottom here as well. So you'll use 3.5-inch screws, again, pre-drill, secure it all together. Now to prevent the rack from shaking side to side, especially if you're gonna be really loading it up, you definitely wanna add some of these brackets. So they're like a L-shaped bracket. They come with holes that are pre-drilled. And I'm going to link the ones that I purchased on Amazon for my rack. I really like those. So where are these going to go? They're going to be attached to the corners, both at the top and the bottom. And go ahead and add some screws here. So the one that I purchased, the pre-drilled holes are in the center of the bracket, which is really nice. So it's not on the edges. So it's in the center, and it makes it hold together better, more securely. All right, now that you've got your rack all built out, you need to secure it to the garage. So here we have a representation of some studs in the garage. You can use these ties to secure the rack to the actual garage studs. Here you're going to use 1-inch screws to secure it to the rack. And then if we remove the drywall here, you'll see that you're going to need about 3 or 3.5-inch, 4-inch long screws, depending on your garage. And you're going to secure it directly to these studs. Hey, thanks for watching. If you wanted a printable PDF build guide, I will have it linked below. You can print it or download it to your phone and use it offline in the garage. It will have everything you need to be successful in building a rack. See you next time.